A few months back, in an ordinary afternoon, I went to a shopping mall, which I don't do often these days, since I literally buy everything online. And I find it to be shockingly different, all filled with shiny, flashy logos of EV. I thought I was in a car exhibit. I mean, we always hear about EV coming, but it was the first time I felt so palpably the change is officially here. And I was curious, why are EVs in the shopping mall? I didn't see any petrol cars before. Then I found out it was actually a legit news that the EV brands were taking over Chinese shopping malls. And not just in Beijing, there are more than 5,000 such 商超店, mall shops or mall showrooms in 247 cities already. And the more important question, as an extra picky choice-phobic consumer, how on earth could I choose among all these brands? And I could only imagine how difficult it would be for many of you. So I decided to do a walk-around video to take you on the grand EV tour. I chose two shopping malls in Beijing famous for hosting EV brands, Solana, 蓝色港湾, and Hopson 和生汇. The idea is to get you on the ground and have sort of an entry-level overall impression, kind of like a catalog. I hope it will be a discovery trip for both you and me. Solana Lifestyle Shopping Park. It sounds a bit Italian, looks a bit Italian, but it's actually American designed and Chinese owned. Just next to the diplomatic area, best location in central Beijing. This is my friend who already has an EV. Hopefully she will guide me through all this. And guess how many brands we found? Number 1, 蔚来 Neo. You just spot it right away because it sits right beside the entrance, literally the face of the shopping mall. And look at all the space and sunlight. They must have spent a fortune on this. The name 蔚来 is a combination of 未来, the future, and 蔚蓝, the color of azure blue. So it kind of paint this picture of a future with an azure blue sky. Sounds ecological. That's some clever wordplay, but the downside is it's impossible to translate. So I wonder how Neo sounds to you, which according to the official explanation means a new day. It is a new company, one of the so-called new forces. The founder Li Bing started his career with a car trading website and set up Neo in 2014 in Shanghai. It is quite a famous brand because instead of charging, it bets on power swap. If you don't know, it means to change the battery instead of charging it. It's fast, it can be done in 5 minutes, and you don't have to worry about your battery getting old because you're getting a fresh one every single time. The problem you might ask is, how accessible are these power swap stations? Surprisingly, I was told there were already more than 2,300 power swap stations all over China, even 26 in Europe. But I could imagine it's also very costly. Neo ranks the first when it comes to burning money, with more than 86 billion yuan net loss. The good news is policies encourage power swap. Both private companies and National Grid are building more and more stations. The model you just saw is the bestseller. To give you an idea, in China, with this price, you can get one of these or one of these. There's even a coffee house inside, but we couldn't get in. It's car owners only, sort of like an exclusive club. And that brings us to the second feature of Neo, is service and community. It's something like fan culture. The owners connect on Neo app, talk directly to CEO, and even organize parties and road trips. They call it Neo Life, and it's been crucial for the brand's survival until now. If Neo were a person, I'd picture a tech entrepreneur. Turtleneck wearing, low-key luxurious, bold, and visionary. They're rather mindful of their connections. They're a little social milieu. But the truth is, they might be just one bad decision away from bankruptcy. Number 2, your familiar Volkswagen, but it's Shanghai Volkswagen, 上汽大众. It's an old brand, but this is a pretty cool showroom. I would count it as half German, half Chinese, since it's a joint venture by Volkswagen Group and Shanghai Motor. You might not know Shanghai Motor, which is a state-owned company, and it's listed, but you may know one of its brand, MG, 名爵, which was acquired in 2007. Last year, MG sold 840,000 vehicles and it ranked top in export volume for 5 years straight. When I was little, Volkswagen flushed the streets of China. Back in 1984, China's car production was still pretty much bench and hammer. Volkswagen was the only company then willing to start a joint venture in exchange for China's huge market. You can see that it's striving to be a household brand in its Chinese name, 大众, meaning literally the people or the public. It's hard to tell if it's an EV just by the look of it. It's saying, I'm just a car, not your new toy. If Shanghai Volkswagen were a person, it'd be your glass-wearing neighbor who works 9 to 5, super down-to-earth, but might be a secret Warren buffet. Number 3, Jihu Arcfox. It's a lesser-known brand backed by Beijing Auto, one of the earliest of all Chinese state-owned companies to set foot in EV. It's not exporting yet, never heard of it myself, but surprisingly, I like it. The selling point is toxin-free and baby-friendly. As I'm super sensitive to toxins, I always feel a little discomfort just being inside of a car. So I noticed the difference instantly, but my friend didn't. The bestseller is a 4-seater. Look how small and cute. And it has a name, which is Koala. It's designed especially for carrying around a baby with a desk to change diapers on, a safety seat, and hidden space for all the baby stuff. So if Arcfox were a person, I'd say, well, me. Number 4, XPeng, XPeng. This is another prominent new brand, a private company set up in 2014 and headquartered in Guangzhou. My first EV experience ever was in my friend's XPeng, and it was like a ride into the future. That's what first got me into EV. The founder named the brand after himself. XPeng literally means little bird. In Chinese context, it sounds just like the name of the guy living next door, Joey perhaps. So it makes perfect sense that it's targeting the young with a design that's modern, sporty, and useful. If XPeng were a person, I'd say a 26-year-old, outdoorsy, dynamic, full of character, but is in this process of taming themselves to fit in the adult society. Around the corner is stop 5, Zeekr. I really like their choice of location, very smart. In the corner you'll get all the sunlight, nothing's blocking, very noticeable, and you won't be spending a fortune like Neo. And may I say that's the best translation so far, because either way it sounds like geek. And that's exactly the intention. I do get this geeky, techie vibe, a little cool, posh, but not too much. On their official website, the user image is described as tech-savvy, rebellious, daring, quality-oriented, middle-class. If Zeekr were a person, they are a little like XPeng, but a few years older. And they're no longer afraid of showcasing their personality anymore. I've learned so much about EV in so little time. In just one stroll, I started to catch on with all the terms and specs, which seemed pretty daunting to me at first, because you kind of naturally cross-reference all the info from all the brands. I especially enjoy the part when I just learned about some great feature of one brand and I flaunt that knowledge in another only to get immediately dissed. This is indeed an arena with little room for misinformation. But what's funny is, if you ask where the other brands are, the attendant will be very happy to give you the direction, as if they are not in competition, but somehow in this collective mission of EV market education. Here's our 6th stop, Hi-Fi, Gaohe. It chooses another entrance, more touristy, right by this plaza with a great flow of people. And wow, we're really seeing some design here, like a race car. The salesperson said several times that it's the most high-end brand in all Chinese EV. And high is even in its name. Gao stands for high. He is a bit more complicated. It can mean together, harmony, proper, or fit. I actually think hi-fi sounds better than hi-fi, which reminds me of Wi-Fi. What do you think? This is called the Seagull Wing, and it's intended to be the signature of the brand. On the poster it says, own the first winged car in your life. But I think that could be a little too flamboyant and eye-catchy in Chinese culture, where modesty and subtlety are valued. Combined with the fact that the high-end market is rather limited, it's no surprise that the brand is in financial trouble. But I do hope Hiphi can get through it all because I can certainly see them having a huge market overseas. It has already reached a 40 billion yuan agreement with Saudi Arabia, so that's promising. Well, what I've found? A whole empty floor as launch area. No wonder you're in financial trouble, Hiphi. If Hiphi were a person, it'd be a Zeekr Plus or an XPeng Plus. They're financially free and they still got this passion and zest. And they're going to flaunt that in everybody's face. Now we're going inside this shopping park and look, a BMW. We might just have a look. What impressed me the most was how aloof the attendants are, as if they were really from this 18th century European setting. What I like is that they don't greet you with ghastly enthusiasm as in other brands, which is nice for introverts. Our 7th brand, Li Auto. If NIO bets on the future with power swap, Lixiang bets on the present with hybrid. I was received with a warm introduction to range extension. If you don't know, it's one kind of hybrid. Normally, electricity should be enough for most urban commute, but if you are having a long drive, say across cities or out in the wild, it can turn fuel into electricity to extend the range of the car. And it doesn't necessarily have to power the car. For example, you could power cooking devices when you're camping. Critics say range extension is obsolete technology, but it doesn't stop Li Auto's sales from skyrocketing. Currently the second best-selling in all new electric car brands, the so-called new forces. It's called Lixiang because, well, the boss name is Lixiang. It means dream, goal, or ideal, and it is an ideal of family. On the website, it's defined as a family multi-purposed vehicle. But it has a nickname that's more memorable, which is Daddy's car, 奶爸车. You have big flexible space, a fridge, and a backseat screen to keep the children busy and off your face. I even got a massage on this. If Li Auto were a person, they'd be a life enthusiast who loved camping, barbecue, and 2 kids running in the house. By this point, we're extremely tired, but victory is almost there. Here's an open store of Jiyue Robocar. Many new brands will make their debut this way. The attendant seems to be very occupied with his phone, so we'll leave him alone. I don't need to introduce you to Tesla, but it was a surprise to swipe Chinese TikTok on a Tesla. That, my friend, is some localization. Number 9, Huawei. Yes, Huawei, the smartphone brand. That's convenient, isn't it? They don't even need to set up showrooms, which are already there, tens of thousands of them all over the world already. What's the most important is that they are all in this ecosystem, Huawei's own operation system, which is Harmony OS. Huawei actually has 3 car brands. What's on show here is Wenjie, Aito, but it's so low-key that Aito doesn't even have its own plaque outside, but it doesn't stop Aito being the fastest growing brand, which is now crowned the #1 selling in all so-called new forces, including Li Auto, NIO, XPeng, even though these brands had started 8-9 years before Aito. And I really like the Chinese name 问界, which means to ask the boundary or to push the limit. I have to say, Huawei is always so good with names, it never disappoints. And Aito, according to the official website, is adding intelligence to auto. But I like another interpretation better, which is AI plus 2. So you can say AI is asking the boundary or pushing the limit to do stuff. With Huawei as background, it's easy to guess that Aito's strong point is smart interaction and auto drive. And another key factor for its success is it's not likely to go bankrupt very soon as long as Huawei stands. So customers don't have to worry too much about after-sales service, which is a rare quality in this big EV scramble. If Aito were a person, I'd say they are middle-aged, modest, and sophisticated. They like to wear quality suits, which are a little banal, but well-tailored. They are tech-savvy, but not in an intimidating way. They're like wine. As time goes, you'll come to appreciate them more and more. In just an afternoon, we saw 11 brands, 9 of them Chinese. But buckle up, let's not stop there. Hopson 1, Hephi. It's another prime location mall in Chaoyang district, and I'm so glad that I went because you get a completely different style. The entire level 5 is transformed into an EV market. But before we go up to level 5, there it is, Huawei all alone down here in the smartphone section. Still a great flow of people. Here we are, level 5. It is a 5,000 square meter space built with the Association of Beijing New Energy Automotives. And look around, there are restaurants, play courts, so it will be a perfect night out to eat, exhaust your children, and take a stroll around the cars to help digestion. In 2023, the sales of the EV market is nearly 2 billion yuan, accounting for 30% of the annual sales of the entire mall. Many brands here are relatively small, so we're gonna keep it short. Number 10, Jixing Polestar. It's Scandinavia plus China, Volvo plus Geely. Its features are minimalist, environmental, and Nordic style. Jiyue Robocar again is Geely cooperating with Baidu, the Chinese version of Google. It's only launched last September, and what's special is the pure vision auto drive. But I mean, if you're gonna call yourself a Robocar, at least do some kind of transfiguration. There's a little robotic about you at this point. Number 11, Lantu Voyah, from a big old state-owned company called Dongfeng East Wind. But that didn't stop Voyah to be one of the earliest to enter Europe and North America. Number 12, Tengshi Denza. It sounds like Benchi, which is Chinese for Mercedes-Benz. And yes, it's the baby of Mercedes and BYD. And yes, European car makers have already buddy-buddy their Chinese counterparts. Zeekr, we've seen that. Number 13, Zhiji IM. IM stands for Intelligent Me. It's Shanghai Auto cooperating with Alibaba, a Chinese e-commerce giant. I do get a tinge of elegant Shanghainese vibe out of it. It's entered Europe and Southeast Asia already, and its strengths can be attested by the fact that it's helping Audi to develop EV. Li Auto again. Arcfox, we've covered that. Number 14, Fangchengbao F-brand. It's a sub-brand of BYD, the hardcore off-road version. It's not exporting yet, but with BYD's overseas channels, I guess that's happening soon. Number 15, Yuanhang, meaning selling afar. And it does emphasize on long range. What's interesting is that the company started out making motorcycles. Number 16, Avatr. It has some serious backing. Huawei's smartphone giant, Chang'an Motor, good old stay-on car maker, and CATL, the battery boss. But cooperation is not easy, I suppose. It's obviously lagging behind Huawei's other brand, Aito. Number 17, Hechuang Hycan. It's the baby of NIO and Guangzhou Auto, another mix of the old and the new, private and state-owned. It aspires to be a video game room on the wheel. It even sponsored EDG Video Game Club. That's XPeng again. Right on top is this floating island of office cubes, like a collective little hub, as if all the EV brands belong to a single company. finished 2 malls, but still the #1 selling EV brand in the world, BYD, Beijing, is missing. So I have to go to the 3rd mall. I was a little disappointed to see how small this showroom is, even in central Beijing. This one only hosts the Dynasty series, which is only one of many series of the brand. But come to think of it, this is exactly BYD's key strategy to keep the cost low and focus on the product. BYD means build your dream. Honestly, initially I thought it's some sort of lousy imitation of BMW, and BYD sounds like some fake version of a foreign brand. So back a few years, if you told me BYD was going to be #1, I wouldn't have believed it. The company started out making batteries and has become a leader in EV battery both in manufacture and innovation. In 2021, the founder Wang Chunfu claimed, up until now, BYD is the only company that has mastered battery, motor, and power control, the 3 key components of EV. Another key factor of success is full and independent control of manufacture, which enabled its rapid rise when others were struggling with supply chain. If BYD were a person, it's not a genius like Tesla. It's more like the quiet student in the class who's been working steadily, paying their dues when nobody really expected much. But one day, their consistency will prove to be invaluable in our fickle and glamorous world. Right opposite is Leapmotor. Might as well pop in for a peek. Never heard of Leapmotor before, but it's actually making the 3rd in sales in all new forces, only after Aito and Li Auto. The feature of the brand is allegedly good value for money. It's described on the official website as an ideal home for the young. Surprisingly, last year, Maserati's parent company, Stellantis, acquired 20% of Leapmotor stock and is considering building Leapmotors right in Italy, within its own factories. Now I'm down to the parking lot. As you can see, the blue license plate are for petrol cars and the greens for EV. I would say the ratio of electric to petrol is roughly 1:4. And here are the charging piles. There is a national standard, so most of them are universal, applying to any brand. So the idea is people doing their shopping and dining as usual while the car is being charged. It's easy to find shopping centers at the heart of every district, so they also act kind of like power hubs. So back to my initial question, why are EV brands swarming to shopping malls? Of course, they're on a fast track to gain recognition. If they don't burn enough money on rent and ramp up visibility, they might not even be there in a few years. It's a life or death issue. But what's interesting is that in this great competition, there is also this secret shared mission, which is to collectively educate the market and accelerate as fast as possible the arrival of the EV era. And apparently, it's already here. In the first half of April this year, the sales of EV in China exceeded oil cars for the first time. Also, in the beginning, I thought it's just a shift of power from petrol to electricity. After all, the cars don't look very much different, but I came to realize that it's also a shift of paradigm. The 4S dealership we're used to includes sales, spare parts, service, and survey. But electric cars don't have as high a demand for spare parts and service. Think of it as your smartphone. You're not gonna fiddle with the spare parts inside, right? So it makes sense to separate sales from the other 3 S's and save the resources to open more showrooms. And if we look at the other end of the story, how much do shopping malls need EV? Well, very much. Since we can buy everything online now, shopping malls are desperate to adapt by offering a richer, more diversified offline experience. Especially during the past few years, lots of businesses struggled and exited malls. And that's exactly the point when Chinese EV started to boom. I mean, it's perfect timing, like match made in heaven. But have we covered all Chinese brands? Well, not even close. At one time, the total number reached 170, with about 300 manufacturers. For example, one model I couldn't find in the mall is Wuling Hongguang Mini. It was a production of Shanghai Motor and General Motors and was at one time the top-selling model in the world. It's so cheap that no extra rent can be added to the cost. So why have so many brands suddenly emerged? It reminds me of a Chinese saying like bamboos after the rain. If this is a game, we can divide the player players into two categories. One is traditional oil car makers such as Dongfeng, Geely, Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou Auto. The other is the new EV companies, the so-called new forces, 新势力, such as NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto. The founders of these new forces are somewhat like Elon Musk. They didn't have much to do with car manufacture before, but they all love cars. So when the era of EV arrives, it's like a dream come true moment for them to get in the game and gamble. Behind these two categories are three kinds of capital: state, private, and foreign. And they're all trying to form alliances and make multiple bets. We're now in the early stage of a brand battle. Only the ones who can better integrate resources can survive. Another important reason, of course, is policy. But I sort of dived too deep into this, so I will make a separate video. It's not just about subsidies and incentives. What I found most fascinating since I studied comparative literature is that kind of deep cultural mindset behind all these. That's the real treasure I really want to share with you. EV is here, and it's here faster than I thought. For many around the world, cars are still a luxury and something of a status symbol. But in the future, they will be more affordable and accessible. They will embrace all kinds of needs and aesthetics, and they might be just stationed between your smartphone and your stuffed animal.